What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Hope everybody's doing well today. I just, for those who are tuning in right now, I'm a ACC referee, and I just want to take a second to remind you all that 31 Levi Jones had a personal foul, roughing the passer on the defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down. So just as a reminder, everybody. And yeah, for those who are listening in, I got my glasses on because I'm trying to. I don't know where the camera is. It's somewhere, but anyway, and I got my white hat on. So yeah, just as a reminder, everybody. But hey, it's yeah, we'll get into that for sure. We'll get into talking about that play. But thank you all so much again for tuning in, and for those who are here with us, make sure again to send us a comment. Let us know who's here. Love to hear y'all's comments and questions throughout. Yeah, so as we have some fun here today. So again, big win against Louisville. What was it, 28-13? To limit a Louisville team that going into this game was averaging 31 points and only giving up 13, and actually being the first time. And actually, this was the first time all season that Malik Cunningham did not score a rushing touchdown. So which I think is a definite accomplishment. Again, hey, I think the key going into this game was keep Malik at bay as much as possible, and I think that we definitely did a great job of doing that. So Michael, I'll hand it off to you first, man. So what were your initial thoughts about the game?
Yeah, defense played great, like they have pretty much the whole season, kept us in the game. Offense struggled up until the fourth quarter, and I don't know, it looked like we just ran a totally different offense in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Which put up 21 points, and it seems like that's been kind of the story of the whole season. Our defense keeps us in the game, and then offense just does just enough in when we need them to. But a win's a win.
A win's a win, exactly. A bad win's always better than a really good loss every single time, and twice on Tuesday. So, all right, Macon, your turn, man. What we got for you?
Well, I was going to say we should have all come as the referees. We could have been put like a mouse face on. We could have been the three blind mice. But that play was atrocious. I totally forgot about that now until you mentioned it.
Well, and again, let's talk about here for just a second here. So first of all, I mean, I think for me, if it was a runner, like for example, if a running back was running like that, because again, Malik Cunningham was basically running out of bounds. But again, the issue which I have with that call is, first of all, he never actually stepped out of bounds yet. Second of all, he's a quarterback, so even though he's running out of bounds, he could still make a play. He's a right-handed quarterback. He could still throw the ball and do damage against us. So what if Levi Jones didn't do that and the ball off? And so again, what are you supposed to do there? Now again, the second one, Tanner Engel, yes, that was a clear penalty, but he was just pissed off. But again, at the end of the day, that first one hurts the most because again, it was like that was the end of the drive.
Third and long, yeah.
Exactly, and then it just gave them another breath of life. And so, again, I just, at the end of the day, luckily enough, it didn't hurt us. I think they still won the game. But again, it could have been a game changer for sure. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like we've addressed it. Now we can move on from that. It was terrible.
Exactly.
Could have come better prepared costumes to do three blind mice. So
yeah, I just kind of look at Leighton in his ref costume the rest of the night.
Yeah, yeah. It's like when I saw that, it made me think of the Michael Scott scene in The Office where he comes out. He's like, "Oh, I can't see," and he's got cross. Yeah. So, so I thought, again, you said, ugly win's always better than a pretty loss, and that's what I was summing up. To me, I got to watch the I can't remember what it's called, the TV show that the football team does weekly to highlight
the
sports and
something like that.
It's basically they showed it this week, and they showed it at halftime, and that was pretty neat. Devin Leary getting in front of the offense and saying, like, look, all respect to the defense, this second half is going to be our half. He's like, we they've done enough for us now, and we have to help them out. I think it's what you saw. I thought the offense really, particularly Tim Beck, made some, again, really good adjustments. And the biggest one to me was Trent Penix. He was the spark this team needed.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I leaned over to Lindsay and I was like, sweetheart, like that's gonna make the difference the whole game. Just that, like, I remember thinking like, why we can't move the ball. And I remember like on that one play, I thought that was gonna be a pitch pass. And I was like,
yeah,
are you kidding me?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so it was pretty sweet to see. I think Devin Leary is really coming along. Like, he's up there with I would say Brennan Armstrong and Howell and Hartman at Wake Forest. He's too early to tell, but Van Dyke's pretty good for Miami so far. Even though he lost to Carolina by like 3 points, he's looked pretty good for Miami. Yeah. So, but Leary's up there. He's on 21 touchdowns and 2 interceptions on the season, and he's halfway through. He's on pace to make close to 40 touchdowns. Everybody, that's what Sam Howell did last year. Everybody was like over the moon for Sam Howell. So he's on pace to do that. And I don't know, man. To me, the negative side is we are struggling running the ball, and I don't get that. I don't get that at all. And I think part of me wonders, is it the impact that Zavala had on that side of the ball? Is it got to do with the fact that maybe that Ekwonu is having to play as used to playing off of Zavala, and they're not running the ball as well? I mean, he was a starter.
Well, but McMahon is on the side of Icky, because it's Icky, McMahon, Gibson, Zavala.
It hadn't been, right? Wasn't it? It was always Zavala's on the right side.
It was always McMahon and Icky. Our 2 veterans were on the left side. So.
Okay, well then maybe I'm wrong there. I don't understand that. Even if it's like these little like the pitch pass, if we're doing more of that at the beginning of the games, those aren't running plays on paper, but they're running plays. I feel like we got to figure a way to mix those up, and I feel like you could hear in Dave Doran's weekly press conference where he acknowledged that, like, we have to get back to running the ball well. And so I have a feeling this week they're going to put a precedent on how do we get this run game going again. Because I'll tell you what, man, going into Florida State, I think this is going to set up playing Louisville before Florida State is going to be very helpful, because the mentality is going to be there of guarding a mobile quarterback. And I think they're different. And Dave Doran, again, said as much during his press conference. But it's just, I think it's going to maybe pay dividends for State, just the way that schedule played out for us. Now, Florida State's getting hot, but just sticking to the Louisville game, man, I thought that was a second half comeback, particularly fourth quarter comeback by the offense. Defense exceeded expectations. Everybody thought they were going to have to score like 30, 40 points to win this game. And we held Louisville to, like, I think notably below their average on points they're scoring in the season. So he said no touchdowns. I think you held Cunningham to like 70-some yards total rushing the ball, which is normally like he's like way up there. So
76 yards rushing.
Right. So I mean that's without 2 starting linebackers. It's the critical position for playing against a quarterback like that.
Yeah.
I thought it was just a great game. Dave Doran said that was Drake Thomas's best game he's played at State.
Oh, easily.
He had 2.5 tackles for loss. I think 2 sacks, 13 tackles overall. Yeah, it's crazy.
He had 15 total tackles, 7 solo tackles, 2 sacks, and 2.5 tackles for loss.
Yeah, he was ACC linebacker of the week. So I mean,
well deserved. Yeah. I mean, and again, I mean, for guys like Levi Jones and Jalen Scott, but specifically Levi Jones, who I think really showed, because I mean, going into especially last season, going into last season, everybody was excited about him because, again, he was a former 4-star recruit to USC, Southern California, and transferred to NC State. So again, I mean, for him to be our 4th linebacker, I mean, I think anybody would kill to have a linebacker like that as your 4th linebacker with that resume. So, I mean, again, the biggest thing which I do really want to say about this game is after the game last week, a lot of State fans, on Twitter I saw, were just saying, there's nothing special about this team. It's just the same old team, same old different day. Like, that's like, but again, a normal team, a normal NC State team over the years would not have won a game like last night. Where literally, I mean, there was times where I literally was like, God, we're going to lose this game. Like, our offense has nothing. Louisville has all the momentum. They're playing more physical than us. They're able to run the ball and pass the ball. Like, we're not going to win this game. And then for us to literally like flip a switch and be like, nope, we're taking over. And we took over that fourth quarter. We took over the fourth quarter. And great teams, again, find a way to win. I mean, I always look at the 2018 Clemson game, mostly because, I mean, going into that game, Clemson was a great program, and we knocked them right in the mouth early. We picked off the ball. We threw a long pass to Kelvin. And, and if a team, any ordinary program would probably have been like, man, like, that hurts. But again, what did they do? They found a way, they bounced back, and they found a way to win. So now we're kind of starting to do those things. We're starting to, again, we didn't play our best ball yesterday, or Saturday. Again, I'm not used to this being Monday. Yeah. We found a way to win. And so again, I mean, like, look at Liberty last year, look at Louisville, look at Clemson, look at, us crushing Boston College. Again, wins like that have not come over the years on a normal basis. So
Boston College win, in my opinion, was the biggest game of I can think of where it's like we would have normally lost that game. Louisville is probably right there with it. I thought the Boston College one was like the biggest. Like you felt coming out of you beat Clemson, you beat Louisiana Tech, you go on a bye week, and at that point we're thinking like, oh man, we have to beat Boston College, and we did. Yeah. Now it's kind of like, okay, you beat Louisville. You really are right there to get it now. It's like you just need to take care of Florida State, which you feel better about now that you've beaten Louisville because they're a similar type of offense. And I'm going to tell you what, I know I've said this to you guys, but Florida State is they're starting to get hot right now. They did just lose to Clemson, and I feel like that loss, hopefully for us, I hope it's an emotional, draining loss. But it's not going to be tough. I mean, this can be on the road at Tallahassee. Yeah. You got to go on the road to Wake Forest. We always seem to have struggles there. Syracuse is starting to come on a little bit. I mean, I know they're not great, but they're playing their best football they've played through the season right now. And then Carolina. I mean, Carolina lost Notre Dame, thank goodness, but they put up 30-some points in Notre Dame. I mean, they're going to be able to score. These are not going to be tough games. I mean, easy games, I should say.
Yeah. Well, and again, we'll kind of get into each of them, but I did want to point out, first of all, I want to say, Justin, thanks for the love on the costume. Hunter, the Mississippi State loss keeps looking better and better each day. The talent is there on this team. Yeah, I mean, Mississippi State is beaten now a number 12th ranked Kentucky, and then at the time, number 15 ranked Texas A&M at Texas A&M. So again, Mississippi State is no joke. So again, I mean, looking at, not necessarily comparing resumes here, but at the end of the day, I mean, between Mississippi State and Miami now, who just beat Pitt, I mean, we really have two good losses. I mean, I know you don't really like saying we have rating our losses per se, but I mean, I'm just saying at the end of the day, again, losses at the end of the day are only losses if you don't learn from them. And at the end of the day, again, we said this last week, if we don't, take Miami and bounce back from it, which we have so far, then it is what it is. But I mean, super impressive. And so the one thing which I did want to ask you though, Michael, and again, I'll hand this to you, Macon, though, is so, looking at the defense overall. So, the one issue which I'm kind of having is again, I know maybe with a mobile quarterback, this is kind of tough to really have because they're so elusive, but defensive line wise, I feel like that you have a lot of really good defensive linemen, and you maybe have a stud in like a Corey Durden who's been playing great ball for sure. But I don't know if I see a stud yet. I haven't seen somebody that just pops out yet. I mean, which not necessarily could be a bad thing, because then that's what I kind of said like when Bradley Chubb was playing, was that by Bradley Chubb being as good as he is, Contavious Street, BJ Hill, and Justin Jones were at a disadvantage. Why? Because then there's only one quarterback to sack. There's only one runner to tackle. So if Chubb gets to him first, then there's nothing for Street. So
right.
So in this case, it could just be that everybody's just really working well together. But I feel like that's kind of my one worry is, I feel like that, for this season, I haven't seen that guy yet, I mean, which, I mean, not necessarily that we need to have it, but that's my only kind of worry so far that, looking at the defense.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I mean, it seems like if I had to pick one, it would be Corey Durden, a guy I think that we thought, or at least just from hearing his name more, I think Daniel Joseph, seems like we would have hearing his name more. I mean, he's not having a bad season. Obviously, the whole defense is playing well together, but it's just like, it really, to me, it's been Corey Durden. He's been on anchoring that defensive line.
Yeah, I agree. Macon, do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, I feel like you guys are maybe selling Savion Jackson a little short, man. He has really come on this season. He's not like a headlining defensive lineman like that in ACC. Is he the second best defensive lineman on our team? Probably. Yeah. Either him or Daniel Joseph. It's one of those two. And I feel like Daniel Joseph had a big game. I can't remember who it was. Boston College. He had like 10 QB hurries or something like that, which is like crazy.
Yeah.
But when you think about what Savion's doing, I saw a lot of Savion the game. Like he wasn't. I don't know what his stat numbers were, but if he wasn't getting the stats, he was making a lot of plays. I mean, I can think of like 4 or 5 instances during that game. I thought, there's 90. He's right there. The ball is creating pressure, and he's getting the backfield. I'm going to look and see if I can find the individual stats.
Well, because like for example, so basically yesterday we had 3 sacks. 2 of them were by Drake Thomas, and then Corey Durden and Daniel Joseph split another one. So again, it's not necessarily
tackles. He had 7 tackles.
Yeah. And so again, it's not necessarily me saying here like, oh my gosh, our D line is just struggling, it's just, and it could be just a recent bias. I feel like, over the years recently, especially under Dorn, between Chubb and between Lee McNeil, Laurel Murchison, that, we've had a stud, and so it's like, who's going to be our stud, so, but.
And I agree. I'm going to agree with that. I'm going a little, I agree with what you're saying. I do think that with this defense, you're not highlighting the defensive lineman as much right now.
In a 3-3-5.
I feel like Gibson needs to get his guys in that he knows can run the style of system that he wants to run. And
correct.
Like Clark's out. Clark would have been a starting defensive tackle, but you're right. Like I said, getting Durden was like getting like a 6-star recruit. Like it was right. It was a big, big deal. And you're seeing
especially
that.
Especially now that CJ
Imagine him not being here right now. Imagine him not being here. Who would it be? It would be Levi. It would be you might have Levi Jones playing a stand-up defense in a little bit. You would have
maybe
Davin Van playing a lot more. I mean, imagine having. I just think that's big, but I do think Savion Jackson's probably. I mean, he technically had one more tackle than Daniel Joseph last night, and although Daniel Joseph had 6 tackles and one of them being a sack, but. I think Savion's quietly having a very nice. I'm looking up here. So far, he has 22 tackles on the season. That's it. He's not any sacks or anything like that, but he's got 22 tackles, and that's pretty good. So,
yeah. And now the one thing too, which I did, excuse me, want to bring up is Wake Forest, first of all, I mean, obviously the biggest news coming in, which, for those who haven't seen, is that basically the television people decided to put the Wake Forest NC State game time on a 6-day hold.
I told you it may happen. It may happen.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. It may happen, and again, it may still happen. I think the only other game that really might compete with it is really the Oklahoma Baylor game. But
it's probably going to happen. That's probably what it's going to be.
But I mean, assuming that, and first of all, I mean, UNC. So Wake Forest plays UNC at UNC this weekend, and UNC is a 2.5 point favorite, which I don't know. 4-4 North Carolina playing 8-0 Wake Forest, and UNC is a 2.5 point favorite. I'm not
really,
but yeah, UNC and now the one thing which I will say again about Wake Forest, which is one reason when everybody says, "Oh, watch out for Wake Forest," is again So basically their schedule so far has included Duke, Army, Syracuse, Louisville, Virginia, Florida State, Norfolk State, Old Dominion. But
their best wins Virginia. Their best wins Virginia.
Yeah.
Correct. And then, but now their upcoming schedule is Carolina, NC State, Clemson, Boston College. So I would truly say that honestly, what Wake Forest has done so far has proven nothing more of what I already knew about them, which is that they are a solid team that is a high-powered offense. But defense-wise, I'm not sold on. I'm definitely not. I definitely see a weakness there with the defense. Now, again, I know that's obviously 2 weeks from now, but I feel like that you just can't help but talk about it because right now Wake Forest is getting a lot of talk right now, even on the national media. Because they've gotten up to number 10 in the country. Everybody's even talking about them. In the the college football playoff, talks. Obviously, they wouldn't get there. Just because unfortunately, they're they're in the ACC right now, and the ACC is getting no respect right now. But yeah, so I would say honestly, if Wake Forest could pull off a solid win against Carolina, I think that we'll have a different story. But if UNC beats Wake Forest, then that'll be interesting for sure. Because it's gonna be.
Yeah.
It's like,
would you rather UNC win? Not. I'm not saying that. Asking this question like as in, would you like as far as, do you hate UNC enough to
right?
Or Wake
Right.
Forest? I'm saying, for the sake of Wake Forest going into the state game, would you rather Wake Forest to win or them to lose? I tend to think I like to see them lose because the mentality is, oh man, we're not perfect.
Right.
And they go into the game and it might be a little deflating. They're 8-0 and they finally get their first loss. Does that make them more like, oh, we're going to get straight and get back to getting another win, get in the win column now? But I hate UNC. I kind of want, for the sake of state, I think UNC should win this game. But for the sake of the resume, it would help state to beat a 9-0 Wake Forest team. But
well, the one thing which I will say is if UNC beats Wake, that means that pretty much whoever wins the Wake Forest game pretty much has a lock on the Atlantic title. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Assuming that unless we lose out, unless we lose two out of our last two games. So basically, unless we lose to both Syracuse and Carolina, then we still wouldn't make it to the Atlantic title. But so that's the one thing which I will say. But also too, from a mindset wise, I agree with you, making, and the fact that I think that also too from a fan standpoint, because I feel like a lot of state fans are really nervous about this Wake Forest game and going to it because they see Wake Forest as a huge threat. So because I think that honestly a big key for that game really is going to be that state fans need to absolutely pack the house against Wake Forest.
If you can go to the game, go to the game. I can't, but
yeah,
man, I would love to. It's a family obligation. My sister's getting married, so
it's tough.
Are you sure she can't move it?
I'll be at the wedding. I'll be like, you may know.
Yeah. And for those who are listening in, we're literally, for those who are listening in, literally, at the wedding, we're gonna be like looking at our phones, like, you may not kiss her. Oh yeah, that's all right. Hey, congratulations.
You may not kiss her. Yes. But it'll be. I do think that we need. I think for the state fans, Carolina should. It would be beneficial for state to have Carolina get the win. That sounds disgusting coming out of my mouth. So
I don't know. I kind of almost think the other way, because if Wake Forest is still 9-0, they're going to be even more heavy favorites than they probably still will be going in there. And I don't think one game is going to really make a difference in who's the better team, but I think in the mindset of everyone will be on Wake Forest. They'll still have that undefeated season. I just think it'll be more pressure on Wake Forest at 9-0 than 8-1, especially since the game is not a conference game.
Too. They could be in the mindset though at that point being like, we're going to be 10-0. So like they could get that 10th win. Is that going to drive them more? Is that going to be like there's pressure for us to get 10-0, or is it?
Yeah, it could work both ways.
Pressure we've won so much, we're going to like walk into this state game and think we're going to get the. I don't know. It's like one of the most interesting NC State Wake Forest games I can think of.
Now, one thing,
especially.
Go ahead, Michael.
I was going to say, especially since the Carolina game is non-conference, so even if they do lose that, it doesn't matter for Wake Forest to win the ACC.
See, so. now I'm and again, my understanding is then it really doesn't come down to how you do in your division. My understanding is how you do in the ACC. Period.
Yeah.
So meaning that a Carolina game does count towards Wake Forest because we would both have one loss. It's not about what your wins and losses within your division. It's about what your wins and losses in the ACC. Period.
We need to get like an ACC official on here.
That's how it was.
Yeah.
Now, unless it changed recently, it might have changed recently.
It's the Wake Forest UNC game this weekend is a non-conference game. It does not count for
non-division game. Non-division game.
No, non-conference. It doesn't count. I promise.
Carolina's in our conference. Carolina's in our conference.
It doesn't. If you look at their schedule, all the ACC games say ACC by it. You look at the UNC game; it doesn't have the ACC logo by it. Because they wanted to do the in-state rivalry. Because we're not in their division, they only play them once every 6 years. So they scheduled non-conference games between Carolina and Wake Forest. Both schools agreed on it. It's weird.
I mean, I'm looking at an article here, Leighton. It does say 2015, from January 26, 2015, North Carolina Wake Forest jointly announced Monday in 2015 that they have agreed to play a non-conference football series in 2019 and 2021.
Wow.
And it's weird. You're probably thinking, aren't Carolina and UNC? I mean, Carolina and Wake Forest in the same conference. I don't really know how the read through this is, but yeah, he's right. It is.
Wow,
it's weird, but yeah,
lose or win.
My mind is blown.
No,
it's so weird.
What?
And if that's the case, we should play Duke more often. If they can do that, we should play Duke. I mean, I get Duke stinks. I won't say sucks, but they're right on the road. There's no reason why we can't play Duke. That's a little side tangent, but
that is
either way. So hey, let me shift back. I feel like we got too far off the Louisville game real quick to talk about this, and I wanted to ask you guys this question: the Louisville game, what would you say was the biggest series or moment of the game? Like, or one of the key moments in the game to you guys?
So Michael, I'll let you. So one thing that I wanted to answer Shadow Works question. So if you're talking about the Florida State game, it's at Florida State. Wake Forest at Wake Forest. Sorry. Go ahead, Michael.
Two that stick out. One on offense, one on defense. Defense, the drive where they called the roughing the passer, and then Tanner Engel also got the late hit. That moved him down the field 30 yards when we should have been off the field. They should have been punting the ball. And then for our defense to hold him to a field goal there, that was huge, I think, because at that point they could have made it a 2-score game, and we kept it within 6. And then offensively, I think we talked about it a little bit, the play in the fourth quarter to Penix, the fake pitch. And like that was a play we don't know. We definitely hadn't run it that game. I hadn't seen it much all season, and it was just something like even like I thought he was going to pitch it.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to pitch it, and I was like, oh, that's actually a creative way to get the running game started. Like I like that, and then he faked it and threw it over the top for a touchdown. And it was
They've pitched it before like that a few times. I know they did.
Yeah.
I remember that specifically, but yeah, that was. I like it. You could tell it fooled everybody in the stands.
Mm-hmm.
It fooled everybody.
Oh
so,
yeah.
Great play call.
And then for me, I mean, defense wise, so I would say honestly, the biggest play for me, I would say honestly, is stopping them early in the game where they missed the field goal.
Yep.
And mostly because
beforehand they decided to go for the field goal and missed it. That was huge.
Yeah. Now, mostly I would say again, I don't think honestly the field goal, like if they had made the field goal, I still don't think it would have changed my thought on it. That at the end of the day, for us to stop them, especially when you have such, I mean, I think they were like on the 1 yard line, something like that, right? And then and Drake Thomas had a absolutely elite open field tackle to bring down Malik Cunningham, because it was pretty much Malik Cunningham, Drake Thomas, and there was nobody else around them. And so if Malik would have won, then that would have been a touchdown. That would have been an absolute. That would have been tough.
Cunningham ran to the right, and he had like 5 yards. He was trying to look for the tight end, I think, coming out a little bit,
releasing
and he
out.
wasn't there. So it's basically like, what are you going to do? We got you locked down, and that was a great individual play.
Drake got him down. And then offensively, so there's two that come to mind. Obviously, first of all, I mean, one is more of just like, Bravo, which is Devin Carter's touchdown to ice the game. More just because, what a more perfect person to catch the touchdown pass than, somebody who obviously, got a lot of heat last week, which was completely unjustified for sure. Now, I mean, I say completely unjustified. I mean, it wasn't justified, but at the end of the day, I mean, it comes with the territory. I mean, when you're like that, it's going to happen. But I mean, I guess to the extent that it went, where everybody was starting to question, like, if he was a good player and all this stuff, like, listen, he's a great player. He had a bad game, and he more than bounced back this week. And then the other one which comes to mind is in the first quarter, late in the first quarter, and it was a pass to Emeka Mezi on the visitor side around the 50-yard line, and the defensive back fell over, and Emeka caught it and ran for like 25 yards down the field, and the ref threw a flag, and I immediately thought, and all the Louisville coaches were pointing, oh yeah, offense, and then they called a defensive holding, which, looking back at it, you didn't really necessarily get a great angle on it, but basically what it looked like happened is basically the defensive back guy was basically locked in with Emeka, and then Emeka, since the guy was holding him, he basically pushed him off, caught the pass, and the defensive back went rolling. So basically, what the ref and the commentators basically agreed, saying, I mean, that's what you're taught to do. Is at the end of the day, you got to get separation. Then he initiated it by holding you, so at the end of the day, you're going to get the edge. But I mean, to basically turn, what could have been, the refs, which, so I'm going to take these glasses off for a second in honor of that call, because we do appreciate that call, because it could have easily been, I mean, that was basically a 60-yard play, because it could have, instead of gaining like 40 yards, it could have gone 15 yards backwards, and that would have hurt. So,
all right, great point. Now put the glasses back on.
Yeah. I hate seeing my eyes.
That's a great play. I thought the defensive play was that early one. Mentally, that was a game changer. They get all the way down there. They can't score a touchdown there. They try to field goal and they come away with nothing. And right after a timeout too. So just total deflation over there. I think not deflation, but they just totally mentally weren't the same afterwards, except that one deep shot, I think it was. And
now I'm making. Let me, if you don't mind, I want to ask a question before I forget it. So I'll let you answer first, Macon. So what are your thoughts? So what were your thoughts on Doran going for it on fourth down on the first drive?
Well, I forgot where was he out on the field? I forgot.
Field goal range, 25, 30-yard line.
I think he probably thought what everybody else did. I don't mind it. To me, it's your offense. You believe your offense is better than their defense.
Yeah, it was 4th and 1.
Was it a pass play or was it a run?
No, it was a run play up the middle.
Okay,
kind of just a zone read.
Yeah, and it was 4th and 1. I would have. I don't mind it. I mean, they you kind of thought. I think everybody thought you're gonna have to score a lot of points this game. Maybe you don't really know how it's gonna look, and I think he just knows that Louisville's quarterback is dynamic. He's going to have to get some points, and he's already this close opportunity. Just go ahead and stick it to him in the first drive. Get them in there, get in their heads a little bit. I don't mind it. It's just, it just they didn't get the first down, but it was like, oh well. And I think that play kind of deflated the NC State bench, but also the fans a little bit, because you're kind of like, well, that's I didn't think but I was like, all right, here we go, and kind of think, well, that's a bummer. So that's how I kind of felt about it, at least. And I don't know, I didn't mind it. I thought I was fine with the call.
Yeah, Michael.
I have no problem going for it early in the first quarter. Obviously we're deep in their territory. Our defense has been great all season, and you don't get it. You trust your defense, and it worked out.
I think like in Florida State, if they do the same thing again, the same field goal range, same position, I'm not gonna be mad at them, because like at that point again, it's different. A case where you're on the road, try to get a win. You want to get in their head mentally early and go for it. If you believe your offense is better than defense, which it is, do it. Just go get it. And you got so many weapons. And I personally, on the side note, they have got to figure out a way to integrate Penix more into the game. I mean, he only had 4 plays. He only had 4 plays, I think, in that game. And every time he touched the ball against Louisville, the way they used him, that was the way they need to use Penix. I mean, it was kind of getting out in space, but he really did look like a miniature J Sam out there. Like
I was about to say that.
But the way they used him was the same way they used Jalen Samuels. He would run the ball a little bit, you get him out in space and a little shallow route. I mean, that was great. And but yeah, they go do that against Florida State. I'm not mad then. I think it was the right call, or I'm okay with the call to your original question.
Yeah. Well, again, and I always say those calls are, the calls where you're an idiot if it doesn't work, but you're a genius if it works.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like
I would have thought late in the game. I would have. I don't know.
Well, it depends. It depends on the situation. Depends on how many you're down, how many you're up. So, but now, like for example, the Miami game last week where Trent Penix had the fake punt. Again, if we didn't make that, I'm sure there's going to be state fans going, "Oh my gosh, why can't you just punt the football?" So again, I think it all.
Sorry.
No, I think it all comes down to at the end of the day. Doran and us, everybody should have at that point. We didn't know at the time that our offensive line was going to struggle as much as it did against Louisville. But at the time, I mean, we truly had a lot of confidence in our offensive line. We still do. But I'm just saying, like, at the time, we felt like, hey, it's 1 yard, it's mano y mano, like, we're going to man up and get this first down. So again, it happens. So, but So I definitely wanted to ask that now. So, Meg, I know you had. Did you have another question before I put mine in?
No, I mean, I was thinking about the game a little bit. Like those plays you mentioned, those are kind of like they could go either way. It just depends on the situation. I think one thing that's also kind of important for I think to discuss too with the Louisville game, and then I guess we're kind of 20 minutes left in the show tonight, but we won this game with 44 rushing yards. You're not State can't do that moving forward. Like,
no,
I get, and I totally get to a degree that Devin Leary's having a great season. He's been dynamic a lot of times, like not as far as taking care of the football and accuracy, making the right reads, making the right plays, throwing it away when he needs to throw it away, scrambling when he needs to scramble, doing just enough in his own run game to make those plays to keep the drive alive. But State cannot, like, they can't just rely on
the pass, right?
On the pass all the time. I mean, I get that.
Right.
If a team's committing to stopping you on and I feel like I've said something, if a team's committing to stopping on defense, it puts more pressure on you to be accurate and successful in the passing game.
Mm-hmm.
They have got to find a way to get the run game going again. They've got to find, and I think the way they adjusted against Boston College was the way to run the ball. And I get what making that game, I scored 33-7. Of course, you like the way they played that game, but I mean, they did like a drive or two, the way like a very vanilla off running the ball, and it didn't work. Then they started getting Ricky Person and Zonovan Knight kind of running off the sides, like you got to snap the ball, Ricky's running out, and they kind of throw it over there to him. Again, I'm not talking about the pitch, but they like literally throws it to him. That's not a running play, but it's a running play. It's not going to be on paper running play, but it might as well be. And then the next play, they pitch it off over here. Or I mean, I would love to see more plays where you have Ricky and Bam on the field. I mean, that would be like both sides of Devin Leary. You don't know which way they're going to go, and maybe have Penix out there a little bit. I mean, that would be very interesting. They're going to do that at some point because you're kind of getting late in the season, and I feel like maybe they're saving some plays for Wake Forest. I kind of feel like maybe they're doing that a little bit, but
maybe. Maybe
I can see it.
They're not going to win many games with 44 rushing yards. They're going to have to figure out a way to get a minimum 80, 100 rushing yards a game.
Well, now, I mean, again, one thing which I will say, though, against that, though, is, I mean, it could have been last night, or again, I keep saying last night, that Saturday night, that Louisville went into that game and said, we are going to plug up the middle, we are going to stop the run at all costs. And so if that's the case, I mean, again, there might be times where defense focuses on that. And if they do, then, okay, we'll pass on you. Again, that's the beautiful thing about, having an offense that we're confident running the ball and confident passing the ball is that if the defense says we're going to shut down the run, okay, we'll pass it on you, but if they shut down the pass, then okay, we'll run it on you. And so I think it's a combination last night probably that we weren't doing our best on the offensive line wise. We weren't able to make holes and push back the line of scrimmage, but also too, I mean, obviously there was between Penix and Zonovan and Bam didn't have their best games, but also too that I think that Louisville honestly wins that game from what I could see and clogging up the middle. But again, I completely agree with you. At the end of the day, whatever issues that we're having right now in the run game need to get figured out, which, it could be a Zavala, but I refuse to believe that one offensive line is going to.
Bad idea of me, because you're right. I mean, it's not just one guy. They got to step up just like the linebackers are. But
yeah,
Ball's a great player. I think he's really underrated right now. And which, by the way, did you know I think he has 1, maybe 2 more years potentially of eligibility left.
Who's
even
this?
Even though he's a graduate. Yeah,
yeah,
I think he has another year he can play. So,
we'll take it.
Iggy's going to go pro, but
Mm-hmm.
Zavala come back to be big. Side note, but that's just a random thing I heard the other day.
Yeah.
Now,
but one thing, yes, we do need to run the ball more, but it's good to see that we're not just one dimensional. Like Louisville,
we're not
down
UNC.
the run, and we just they shut down the run, and Devin Leary just passes on him. So I mean, right, it is better, and you need to, against tougher competition, you definitely need to be able to run the ball. But
but again, I mean, it's hey, found a way to win by throwing the ball, and hey, so be it. We'll take it, and we'll see. Hey, maybe Florida State, it may force us to run the ball. We'll see. But I did want to answer Hunter's question, and then I had a question to myself as well. So Hunter Smith asked, if NC State wins out, Wake Forest only loses to us, who wins the division? So the one thing I did want to ask, so was our Miami game an ACC game?
Yes.
Okay.
We didn't agree. We didn't agree to terms with Miami ahead of time that it's a non-conference game.
Okay, so see, that's dumb. But so we have one AC loss, and even if Wake Forest loses to Carolina, then they still don't have any losses. So which means that if we beat Wake Forest, we each have one loss, and if we win out, we go to the Atlantic because we have the head-to-head tiebreaker. So, so Hunter Smith, answer your question.
Won't they have more ACC conference wins though?
No, we should
not
have
total.
the same amount.
The idea is that we should both have.
If we win out,
we should have.
You're right, because we'd have the one conference loss. They would have the one conference loss to us, and that would be the tiebreaker.
That'd be a tiebreaker, exactly. So we would go.
Yeah, you're right. So Hunter's right.
So yeah, Hunter. So if in that situation, State would go through Atlantic, but
would you rather State beat Wake or UNC this year?
Wake.
I mean, as a State fan, you actually go, I would no UNC. It's the answer is Wake Forest this year, guys.
Wake. Now, the one thing which I will say is, again, I mean, the way that if we beat Wake, beating Carolina is important, because if wins out, then if we lose to Carolina, then Wake Forest wins the Atlantic.
If you got to pick one, it has to be Wake Forest, because Wake Forest, again, like you said earlier, Leighton, they still have to play Carolina, us, Clemson, and Boston College. And I guess Boston College is now really fallen off. But
and that's true, Hunter, too. I mean, that's one thing to point out is, again, I mean, who's to say that maybe we won't be the only loss? I mean, Wake still has to play. If I'm not mistaken, it's at Clemson.
At Clemson, at UNC, yeah. And is it at Boston College? Is it at Boston College?
I think it's at Boston College, yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah, but basically, if we
it's at Boston College. At Boston College.
3 out of the 4 next games are road games.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, it could possibly be that we could head into the Carolina game. The situation could be that we could go into the Carolina game with the Atlantic Division title already in hand, but also could in another situation too, which I want to bring up is so Carolina lost to Notre Dame, so they're 4-4, and they have to play Wake, Pitt, Wofford, and us. So assuming more likely at this point, not more likely because Carolina's a favorite, but assuming that Carolina loses to Wake, loses to Pitt, beats Wofford, that means it comes down to us, and that they would have to beat us to go to a bowl game. So how interesting would that be?
Revel in that. I mean, State's going to get up. Carolina's going to get up. Rivalry for everything out the window. It doesn't matter how bad you are, good you are. But it's going to be some interesting dynamics. In Carolina, are they out of it in the Coastal? Would you say?
No, I think the only two that are out of it are Georgia Tech and Duke.
Okay.
Funny.
And Carolina's close to being out of it. They're close.
Now, so let me say it. So Miami, Virginia Tech, and UVA have 2 losses. Pitt has 1 loss. Carolina has 3 losses. So Carolina's way behind, but there still is a road.
They need a lot of help.
There's still a lot.
They're 2 games behind what you're saying.
But it is interesting again that as down as people were on Miami, they're still in it. They're still 100% in the fight.
I mean, Van Dyke, he's backed up his talk. I hate it.
Yeah.
But it was I mean, I made a text to you guys that earlier before we played them. Said Miami may be better with Van Dyke because Derek King, they were depending on him so much and he was so inconsistent, and now they have like a consistent quarterback and he's actually making really good plays. I think he was like like one of the top quarterbacks commits when he came to Miami in the first place. So who do you think is going to come out of the Coastal?
I mean, I would say Pitt still.
Yeah, I'd have to look at
Virginia schedules.
Did Virginia play who?
Pitt. Have they played each other yet?
Not yet. I'd probably say the winner of that game.
That will be the game of the Coastal. That'll be the Coastal game.
Yeah, so Pitt has to play Duke. Then Pitt plays Carolina, Virginia, Syracuse. So
yeah, I think it's going to come down to that. Pitt,
at home? Is it at Virginia or at Pitt?
At Pitt. Yeah.
And Brendan Armstrong's throwing the ball like lights out.
He's set the school record already. 8 games in.
What's the coach's name there? Ronka Mendenhall. He basically said, like, screw it, we're not running the ball, just throw the ball.
Yeah. I mean, he's got 3,200 yards.
Right. Well, but again, so UVA, so you guys used to watch SpongeBob, I'm sure. So you remember the scene where it was. Oh, okay. So what was it? The giant pink bullworm episode where SpongeBob so SpongeBob stands there and goes to Sandy and goes, "All right, Sandy, if you're gonna get past me, you have to go through me." And then Sandy just walks right through like as if it's 2 swinging doors, and SpongeBob opens up like 2 swinging doors. That's UVA's defense right now. Okay. I mean, UVA's defense has more holes than Swiss cheese. Okay. I mean, watching that BYU game, like literally the running back and the quarterback both had career days, like almost school breaking days, both of them, passing and running. So again, Virginia is out of it. Why? Because they have 0 defense. They have nothing on defense.
Are they out of it? They're not out of it though.
Well, I mean, technically they're not, but
technically not out of it. But okay, so fine. So UV has to average 65 points a game in order to win and get out. Again, they have no defense.
The thing is, they're doing it. It's like, oh yeah, well, you gotta do that kind of, but they're doing it.
Right.
So it's like until somebody stops them, they're doing it.
I don't know. I think Pitt will end up winning because
I agree.
Like
Pitt's too good.
We saw one of their Virginia's losses was to Carolina, and Pitt has just as with Kenny Pickett, they have just as good of an offense there. So
yeah.
Well, and again, there's only been one ACC game this year where Virginia's allowed less than 28 points, and that was against Duke. So, but they gave up 59 to Carolina, they gave up 37 to Wake, 28 to Miami, 33 to Louisville. They gave up 40 to Georgia Tech, and then I mean, this past one was 66 to BYU. Holy smokes! So yeah. So again, with a team like Pitt, where I mean they have now not a Heisman contender in Kenny Pickett, but I mean they have a solid defense. There's no doubt about it. They have a solid defense. So and again, I truly do think that Pitt. Again, at the end of the day, maybe the Miami loss might be that fire to them. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah.
But I mean, because Pickett still played a heck of a game. and they lost, but they played a heck of a game. So, I guess kind of wrap it up. So to kind of finish off about FSU, I think that for me that FSU, I think honestly this is a make or break moment. The rest of the season is a make or break for them. That I mean, looking at their schedule, so I'm sorry, I'm trying to pull it up. My phone froze. So Florida State has to play us, Miami, Boston College, and Florida. Right now, they're 3-5, and so so they got 4 games left. So Florida. I mean, obviously Florida is not looking too great right now. So again, it's
Florida will still kill them.
When you say that, we said that about Pitt, and we said that about Pitt too.
Yeah.
My thing is though, I don't really know what we're watching with Miami right now. It's like,
no.
Okay, are they legit?
Yeah, I mean,
I think they're legit. I think they're legit.
They were
Michigan.
They're I think it's 5. Miami is 5 points away from being 6-2 right now. They lost by 3 to Miami, and then they lost by 2 to somebody else.
They lost to Carolina. They lost to Carolina by 3 points. So,
sorry, that's what I meant.
3 points. So they to me, people forget Miami was considered a top 10 team coming into this year, and they just lost a quarterback, and they just got now another really good quarterback. So it's like
might be better.
They might be better with him right now than they will be with Derek King. Not to hate on Derek King, but he's just been hurt. So it's like now they got something consistent they can count on and build around.
Yeah.
I mean,
now
it's not. It shouldn't be that shocking.
No. Now the one thing which I will say about FSU, which is the exact same thing I said about Boston College, is at the end of the day, Boston College and Florida State both share one thing, which is that they both have young head coaches, and so and they're both building up the programs right now. Because I feel like FSU has not taken one step forward yet. They're still working their way to the first rung of the ladder, and so for me, I say, again, the Clemson effect is 100% a real thing. It has been proven year after year after year that losing to Clemson, and specifically losing a tough game against Clemson, where I mean, because again, Boston College, I feel like that game was a little different because Boston College truly should have beaten Clemson, but they didn't. But Florida State, I would say that was honestly, it was barely. I would almost barely call it a football game. It was both teams did not play well, but just Clemson, at the end of the day, made the plays they needed to at the end to win the game. But so if FSU again can bounce back and play well, I'm not saying beat us. I'm just saying if they could play well against us, that'll be impressive. That'll be a step for them in the right direction, I would say. Even though they may not look at it like that, I would say honestly that again, I mean, but again, look at Boston College. We said that, and Boston College did not look like Boston College that we saw before the bye week, and they still haven't, honestly.
Emotional loss. The score was 30-20 Clemson, but it was a lot closer than that. That touchdown, like a late, like a last minute fourth quarter score.
Last second,
yeah.
Yeah, on a lateral. They fumbled the laterals.
Florida State's going to be deflated after that. I mean, and you got to think, remember this too. This is kind of a small thing, but we talked about this. I'm going to watch for Corey Durden this upcoming week. He's going back to Florida State, who he played against.
He's going off.
Yep. And he knows he's got buddies on there. I mean, I get Cyrus Fagan. He came from Florida State. He did. So he's not playing. So I think this defense is going to take it personally that everybody's counting them out right now. And again, I think State fans should fairly and rightfully so temper their expectations a little bit with this defense. But after you saw what you saw at Louisville, I mean, it's hard. Like, well, do I need to? But I still think you kind of do a little bit. I don't think
yeah, they still put up 430 yards. I mean, in the red zone, we stopped them, but they still had a lot of yards.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I will say a lot of that was off a big chunk of that was one play.
Yeah, 75 yards on that one play.
300 yards still a lot. 300 yards still a lot. That's you just got to figure out a way. And I don't know who Florida State's main weapons are other than Jordan Travis. The quarterback.
Their running back.
Running back is
his name.
Corbin. Yep. Deshaun Corbin, who's a sophomore.
Is he healthy for this game?
Yeah, didn't somebody say he was injured?
I think I did, but I might be mistaken. I thought I heard somewhere that he one of the running backs kind of got a little dinged up. Maybe I'm wrong.
Might be. But one thing which I will go ahead and say is, so right now State is opened up as a 3.5 point favorite. It's gone down to 3 point favorite.
I saw that.
So yeah, even Vegas is calling it a close game. But one thing which I do want to go ahead and say though, which I think is hilarious, is so the Wake Forest Carolina over under. Can you guys maybe Michael, you may have already seen it.
Oh, I know where you got a high number. I can already guess.
I think I saw it already. Making you give a guess, and then
give me a guess, Macon.
80 or 90.
Close. 76 and a half. 76 and a half points.
I mean, you can think about 80 or 90. Would it be unrealistic to see a 45-35 score? No.
Listen.
I think the highest.
Again, the BYU game was that at halftime. So
well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It was 45-42 at halftime, Wolfpack Nation. Again, the BYU Virginia game was 45-42 at halftime.
Crazy.
Halftime. Holy smokes! So
yeah, it doesn't surprise me. It's just going to be who can get more stops.
Yep.
Really, who can get the stops and or who can take care of the ball. I don't know how they rank as far as turning the ball over, but Hunter Smith's 95. That's about right.
Yeah. So basically, Hunter's going to smash the over is what I'm hearing. I think. But yeah, and then I mean, obviously, looking ahead to one game that's going to be interesting as well is going to be that Louisville Clemson game. I think that's going to be an interesting game as well because at Louisville,
Louisville's got a tough schedule, man. They got to play Kentucky. They've got to play
Clemson,
and then I mean Syracuse at home. They put Louisville play
Syracuse. At home. Have you seen the running back Sean Tucker for Syracuse when he after each game? He's leading the ACC in rushing, but after each game he always tweets out, he's like, "I was pleased with my performance today," like whether they win or lose, and like tweets out his stats. Yeah, it's so funny.
Interesting. Well,
Sean Tucker was like getting he was getting a little bit, or like early in the season, he get some Heisman talk a little bit, and then
he's over 1,000 yards already.
Yeah, he is their offense again. So we'll talk about Syracuse when that happens.
Now the one thing though, last point I want to make though, and this is in honor of Wake Forest, is so can we agree that more likely right now the Heisman is Kenneth Walker's to lose? And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because he's a former ACC player.
Yeah.
Is it? I mean, probably.
He had 5 touchdowns against Michigan. 5 touchdowns.
I know he did, but I'm just saying people are now drooling over Caleb Williams at Oklahoma. Just absolutely.
That would piss
me off. The question is, best player in college football. Mm-hmm. Is it Kenneth Walker or is it Caleb Williams?
But how?
I think there is debate there.
Yeah, I mean, but again, how can you give a guy? How can you
5 touchdowns against a top 10 team in a rivalry game? I get it.
I think Michael and I are about to say the same thing, which is how can you give a Heisman to a guy that didn't even play the full season?
Well, no, I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say, how can you give the Heisman to a guy who barely beat Kansas?
That's true too. So, but again,
they really shouldn't have. Kansas got hosed by the refs in that game
Walker
too.
Had a bad game this season at all? I don't know.
I mean, nothing that's really stood. I mean, again, everything's built up to this point. We've been talking about him even up until this point, and now he just had his probable Heisman moment, which is getting 5 touchdowns on playing against a top 10 team.
Yeah.
He's averaging 8.6. Oh, that was that previous game.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if he'll win it, but I would say it's his to lose right now.
14 touchdowns, 6.8 yard average, 1,194 yards so far.
That's crazy.
And then it was like Caleb Williams, just out of curiosity. That's all. How many games he played? He's played probably 8 or 9. Caleb Williams probably. Like Caleb Williams.
So that means he's averaging on give or take 120, 130 yards rushing per game.
Yeah, on 6.8 yards a carry. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Okay, but here's the thing, though, dude. Let me look here. How many games has Caleb Williams played?
4.
Okay. In 4 games, then, if that's the case, in 4 games, do you know what his stats are?
A lot, I'm sure.
Yeah, 1,189. Again, he's a quarterback. He's going to have high yards. But in 4 games, he's got 1,189 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 1 interception.
Yeah, but
that's really good.
But I also want to look. I also want to look at who did they play during those 4 games.
All right, they clearly have played Texas, which is not. But Texas gets up for a rivalry game again. Doesn't matter. They played Kansas. They played
TCU.
Yep, they've played Texas Tech. Texas Tech, TCU, Kansas, and Texas. Texas, TCU, Texas Tech, and Kansas. Which not great defense, I would say.
No. So I would say they play Baylor this week. So I would say honestly, right now I don't have any like Caleb is not in my talk, but I mean if he has a big game against Baylor and if they have a big win against Baylor, I might talk about him a little bit. Go ahead, Michael.
Hey, did you know Caleb Williams from DC? That's interesting.
Yeah, right. I was just gonna say that's next week. Oklahoma's on a bye this week. They play Baylor the week of.
Yeah. That's right. Okay.
But you're probably right. It probably is Kenneth Walker to lose.
I would say right now, but again, I'm sure the media is going to keep Bryce Young in the talk as well. So, but we'll see. So thank you all so much again for tuning. I think it's been a fun conversation. We love doing these every single week. I know that today we did it because yesterday was Halloween, but starting again, we'll get back on Sundays, 7:30 p.m. So make sure to tune in with us next week as we break, which I'm sure will be an intense conversation because hopefully that we pull out a win against Florida State, man, that's going to set up a huge week coming up and absolutely probably.
And you think, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I'm just saying it would probably set up one of the biggest weeks, since the Clemson game for sure.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say they can't look past Wake Forest, but I'll tell you what. Wake can't look past Carolina. They can a little bit because it won't matter, but
yeah, apparently, which they know that.
Would you rather take it easy a little bit against Carolina if you're Wake?
No, absolutely not. Because right now,
rivalry game, kinda. So
yeah.
Well, and the one thing which I will say as well is that if Wake loses to Carolina, there's no college game day, which I don't know if the NSA plays in their mind, but there's no way they probably have college game day. Yeah. So. But again, I mean, hey, right now they're in the national talks, so they're easily in the talks for a BCS bowl right now. So,
tell you what though, what happens if somebody on Wake's team gets injured? Heck, what happens if someone on our team gets injured? But Wake is pretty healthy right now.
Well, it depends what we're talking about here. I mean, offensively,
if you're Wake,
we're going to talk about that.
You would
yeah.
Hey, you mentioned Heisman. Could you give me the latest update on Sam Howell's Heisman candidacy?
They took him off the board.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
That's the media. Well, that's the media's fault, right? Well, and by the way, too, what was the media thinking, making Carolina only a 3-point underdog? That's the media putting the expectations way too high. That Mac Brown cannot keep up to those expectations of being only a 3-point underdog at Notre Dame. So anyway, so thank you all so much again for tuning in. Please make sure again if you are watching us on YouTube, make sure to please hit that subscribe button. It's free to do and really helps support us in the channel. Please give this video a like. Check out all of our great state content. We just did a preview on men's basketball. We got an exciting preview coming up. Again, this is Monday. We got a 2-part episode coming up this week on a sport which I won't ruin it. But let's put it away. We got an exciting guest tuning in with that sport, so make sure to tune in and give us a follow at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter, Instagram, and Macon give me a finger, which means he has 1 point. So go ahead, Macon.
Basketball season is upon us.
Yes, it is.
November.
Preview. Yep. Exhibition games going on right now. State's up 62-44.
Well, thank goodness for that.
Well, anyways,
basketball is here. I hear you, making. You got to.
I know. I just love basketball.
Basketball is here. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So awesome. Well, thank you all so much again for tuning in. As always, go Pack, y'all. And we'll see y'all next week.